It is my distinct honor to introduce our third honoree tonight, a man who does not need really any introduction at all, Jamie Kowalski. Jamie has been in the business for 45 years and counting. Like many of the people you will hear from tonight, have no intention of retiring. I need to talk to you, Jamie. Anyway, Jamie started out his career, his first 10 years of that 45 was in health centers and hospitals, doing the things many of us did in supply chain. And then for 2 years, he spent in the manufacturing and distribution arena, and then the following 35, he's been a consultant. So clearly, he likes telling people what to do rather than taking orders from people. But of course, I'm teasing, because as a consultant, Jamie helped form one of the most prestigious organizations in supply chain healthcare consulting back in the day, and that was Kowalski Dicko and Associates. Jamie and Jim Dicko formed a one-of-a-kind organization that provided value to their customers, provided high integrity, and a great deal of performance. You know, those things they took very seriously about what they did, and many of you in the room, including myself, used Jamie and his team over the years to provide answers to our supply chains. And it was, while the consulting companies today, I would say, are very different in providing a whole wealth of different kinds of approach, back in the day, those organizations really zeroed in on what was important in supply chain, and we all took their advice very seriously. Hopefully, Jamie, there weren't too many people who took that binder and put it on a shelf, but actually did what you told them they should do. Another very important thing, I should say that for 22 years, Jamie and Jim Dicko formed that organization and provided that kind of service to their clients. Another great thing that Jamie did in his career was to, and I think you're still doing this, Jamie, is providing, I know he's done 35 or more of these executive surveys to CEOs and CFOs in the industry, healthcare industry, to get at what people thought of supply chain. What did you like about supply chain? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? And then Jamie and his team, mostly Jamie, would present to various lectures or various organizations, professional organizations, what the industry thought of our profession. Again, a very big value to us and hopefully helped everybody improve their performance. In 2011, I will tell you that Jamie was awarded the Association for Healthcare Resource and Materials Management Leadership Award, another prestigious award that was well deserved by him. And while at the end of tonight we'll have 96 honorees in the Bellwether, all of whom have done amazing things and deserved everything and all the credit that they are getting tonight and they've gotten in the last 10 years, I would tell you that Jamie probably gets a little bit more of a bump on that creative side by his and Rick Barlow's creation of the Bellwether League. Those two guys had a bright idea and brought a bunch of us together. I was fortunate enough to be one of those early original board members who helped create the organization. So yeah, they had a great idea, but we helped them really form what it is today. And all kidding aside, we all wouldn't be here and we wouldn't have 10 great years to celebrate without their great idea. So without further ado, my good friend of 30 years, Jamie Kowalski.
Good evening. You know, after sitting there and listening to Sarah Bird and to Jim Francis's background and information, I'm looking around going, what am I doing up here? I very much appreciate everybody coming here and really to be here to recognize the entire slate of inductees for this class of 2017. I do a lot of public presentations, but I'm going to read my notes about my thoughts so I can get through this, and so I do so without forgetting what I want to say. Tonight, I admit I'm a bit disoriented. Well, some of you would probably know that I'm generally disoriented, but particularly tonight. And that's because during the first 6 years or 7 years of the Bellwether League, I had the honor of introducing the previous inductees to the Bellwether League, handing them their plaque, congratulating them, shaking their hand. They all have incredibly impressive accomplishments and made significant contributions to the art and science of supply chain management in their careers. It never occurred to me that someday, any day, ever, I would be on the other end of that transaction. I also admit that I am more than a bit overwhelmed. I don't have the words to adequately express how honored, humbled, proud, and happy I am to be part of the outstanding class of 2017. Like many of you who were inducted before me, I had a plethora of people. My son should get a kick out of that word for various reasons. Plethora, which means a large number, of people who were instrumental in my being inducted tonight, and I'm going to ask you to allow me a few minutes to recognize some of them. I can't come up with all of them. Kind of like Jim, when you've been around as long as he and I have, there's a lot of people, and you can't possibly mention all of them. But I'm going to start with my parents, believe it or not. May they rest in peace, who instilled in me a solid work ethic, showing up being half of success, or whatever the phrase is. And depending upon your personal point of view, they gave me some degree of sound judgment. And I've been able to deploy that during my career, and I think it's helped me a lot. Next, I want to recognize my wife, Mary, who's here tonight, and who supported me from day one on my journey through a career of 40 plus years. She virtually single-handedly, like many of your spouses have or significant others, raised our 3 sons and ran our household. Since I began the traveling phase of my career just a few weeks after our oldest son was born. I used to come home after business trips still wearing my name tag so Mary and our sons would know who the heck it was who just came in the door. I cannot overstate how much I appreciate her for all she has done for our family and for me. And our 3 sons, our oldest Jonathan and his wife Maggie, are here tonight. Pete is here, he's our middle son, his wife Carmen could not be here tonight, and Charlie, our youngest, are here, and I'm really happy that they could make it here. I'm also very proud of the men that they have become. Maggie, I said men, so don't consider that you weren't included in that thinking. Before I continue with the thank yous, I would just want to share an observation with you. I'm sure many of you have already experienced this or heard about it. People come up to you and say, to those who are veterans of a particular position or in an industry or whatever, and say, how did you choose your career? How did you get where you are now? Well, I'd like to say that it was a master plan that I developed when I was 12 years old, but that's not it exactly. It was really the companies that gave me part-time jobs while I went to school that put me on an unplanned and unrecognized or unrealized by me, a path to a career in supply chain management. I just didn't realize it at the time. So you might say I stumbled into it. Well, I could say it started when I first had my paper route at age 12. And it was a business, my own little franchise. And I learned how to run that and make money at the end of the week, delivering about 100 papers every morning at 4:30. And in February, that was not much fun. Excuse me, I'm out of Milwaukee, so I'll let you figure that one out. Stocking shelves at a grocery store and at a local pharmacy, we actually used par levels. We never called them that. So I got familiar with that whole concept. At a local seal test dairy plant in the summer, I learned production and order fulfillment, which, by the way, was working in a warehouse at 40 below zero, picking orders for ice cream products and popsicles. I also learned transportation. I drove some of their trucks. And I learned about that supply chain without even realizing it was a supply chain from the point of raw material to the customer location. So I saw that whole chain, and somehow or other, some of that settled in there. Well, there was plenty of room, so that's probably why there's something settled in there. I thank every one of those businesses that gave me that foundational experience. My first real job after college graduation began in a Milwaukee hospital. I saw an ad in the newspaper, and I took it. It was called a financial counselor. Well, little did I know that it was a bill collector. I wasn't real happy about that, but luckily for me, the hospital was planning a replacement facility, and someone on the executive team heard about a new concept at the time, you can probably guess about when this occurred, called materials management. I was invited to learn about and help integrate those concepts into the design of the building. Of course, I accepted that versus bill collector. That seemed to really place my feet squarely on the path of a supply chain management career that I have been on ever since. I thank my bosses, the staff, my colleagues of that hospital and all the other hospitals I worked in over the years, and John mentioned some of them already. Not mention them by name, but mentioned that I did have an early career working as a supply chain leader in hospitals. But they gave me the opportunity to both learn about and contribute to the development and implementation of those materials management concepts and principles. I also thank the industry-leading supply chain companies that gave me additional opportunities to learn and contribute. Okay, here's one for you. Will Ross, raise your hand if you recognize that name. Oh, look at this. You're some real old-timers here in this group. It was, at the time, the largest healthcare product manufacturer and distributor in the industry at that time. Later on, it was ServiceMaster, which was acquired by Aramark, both tops in their marketplace. Then McKesson, in what was called its provider technology company, and actually I don't even know what it's called today, but nonetheless, there. And I'm very proud to say, for a couple of reasons, Owens & Minor. The person who hired me, Mark Van Sumeren, is a board member for the Bellwether League. And the CEO at the time, Craig Smith, and I don't know exactly where Craig is sitting, but he's going to be recognized tonight. And I can't be any prouder to be joining the Bellwether League as an honoree at the same time he is in the class of 2017. John mentioned this. I am forever grateful to the consulting team and staff of Kowalski Dicko Associates. You know Jim Dicko, class of 2013, and I co-founded that in 1983. The talent that they provided, their commitment, their hard work, made our over approximately, don't hold me to this number, 1,500 clients, made them happy and satisfied, and made the firm and yours truly look good. And I needed help with that, for sure. And the clients themselves gave our firm an opportunity to learn different things every time we were with a client. We learned more, and we brought that knowledge forward to the next client. But they allowed us to help solve their problems, improve processes, save money, and they provided references that helped our business grow. Thanks also to the professional societies that helped me learn about and contribute to that advancement of supply chain management, as we now call it. AHRMM, HFMA, ACHE, AORN, and several group purchasing organizations. In addition, there are the journals that thought my writing and perspectives were worthy of publication. Go figure that. Including Materials Management in Healthcare, Hospital Materials Management, and especially Healthcare Purchasing News. Publisher Chris Russell is also being inducted tonight in the class of 2013. Thank you, Chris, and the rest of your team. Of course, the sponsors who supported this initiative with funding, and especially those that did so before we had anything to show them. They came up with it because they thought, as John mentioned, it was a good idea and it made sense and it was about time. Without them, we wouldn't have the type of strength that we have at the Bellwether League today. We couldn't have done it without them. And I thank the current members of the Bellwether League Board of Directors who nominated me. By the way, I was told it was Gaida and Barlow, so go figure that, and you can take it up with them if you need to. Somehow that board decided I was qualified for induction into the hallowed Hall of Fame. Plus, a huge thank you to all the founding and former board members who donated so much of their time and talent launching and growing the Bellwether League into what it has become today on its 10th anniversary. I'm blown away by and extremely proud of the progress that the Bellwether League has made. And we're not stopping here, as you heard Rick talk about early on, and hopefully you got the message from that terrific video we saw. I'm confident of that because of the talented board members that we have and the board leadership, John Gaida being my successor and now Nick Gage. I'm very confident we will get where we're intending to go. Lastly, I thank my colleague, co-conspirator, fellow baseball fan, Bellwether co-founder, current executive director, and good friend, Rick Dana Barlow. If 12 years ago, because we took a couple of years to figure out what we wanted to do before we brought on a board of directors, if he and I didn't have one of our frequent conversations about which athletes were voted into the various halls of fame, particularly baseball, that somehow morphed into a discussion about a supply chain leader hall of fame, tonight doesn't happen. I'm not standing here. And that's very much appreciated. And on this occasion, I am compelled to reveal, because this has been bantered back and forth for years, who was it who first said, why isn't there a hall of fame for supply chain leaders? Why don't we start one? It was Rick. And Rick, you may deny that, but it's the truth. Now, I know I've gone on way too long. In fact, I just noticed my wife giving the cut sign. So I always try to listen to what she says. But I wanted to make sure that I had the chance to share a few of these thoughts. Let me close by saying that while this is not an original thought, actually consultants don't have any original thoughts. They just learn from one and then take it to the other, and you know how it works. But my goal in life and in my career has been rather simple, and that's good because I'm a simple guy and I can actually handle some simple things. I try to leave the world a little bit better off than before I arrived. That's been my goal. And to all those who may have found some value in my work and who have been helped me progress toward my goal, I sincerely say thank you.